Hello, church. So today is Monday, May 4th, and we are back with our daily devotions from Proverbs, continuing in Proverbs 29. Today we hit our second portion, and we're dividing this into three and nearing the end of our time of daily devotion in this book of wisdom. There's we're going to do a little back and forth today between Peterson and the NRSV on some specific verses, and then include some commentary from Van Leeuwen on a few of the ones that he highlights and some good stuff. But we will go ahead and start with our NRSV, and then we'll give you some commentary. The first verse, which is, we did the first 9, so this is going to be verse 10. That's one of the verses we're going to be talking a little bit about, as well as verse 16 and then verse 18, if you're following along in one that has numbers listed. The bloodthirsty hate the blameless, and they seek the life of the upright. A fool gives full vent to anger, but the wise quietly holds it back. If a ruler listens to falsehood, all his officials will be wicked. The poor and the oppressor have this in common: the Lord gives light to the eyes of both. If a king judges the poor with equity, his throne will be established forever. The rod and reproof give wisdom, but a mother is disgraced by a neglected child. When the wicked are in authority, transgression increases, but the righteous will look upon their downfall. Discipline your children, and they will give you rest. They will give delight to your heart. Where there is no prophecy, the people cast off restraint, but happy are those who keep the law. And so verses for particular focus. Verse 10, the bloodthirsty hate the blameless, and they seek the life of the upright. And let me go ahead and do a little bit from his commentary on 10. And you will notice this more in the Message when we hit it. Van Leeuwen's going to be uplifting that, and we've talked before about those little footnotes about the meaning of the Hebrew being uncertain. And so for translators, then you're dealing with the question of, okay, do we want to try to figure out the context for this that we can put it in, or are we going to go ahead and uplift the ambiguity of its original translation in hopes that that might be a provocative or capturing moment for the reader? Here's Van Leeuwen's commentary. Verse 10b is difficult and uncertain. Thank you. At first glance, it means, and when it says 10b, that's the second half of the phrase, and the upright, which is a plural, seek his life, i.e. to kill him, which makes no sense. This has led to a number of emendations. The New Revised Standard and New International Version have the advantage of not modifying the text. The issue is the murderous rancor that the wicked have toward the good. And then he references bloodthirsty in connected to Psalms 26 and 139. This continues into the next verse, but still an important note. The reading of NRSV is closer to the Hebrew than is the NIV, for the object of holds it back is anger, not the person. The restraining of rampant emotion is a frequent theme in Proverbs. It separates the wise from the foolish. Our next verse, when the wicked are in authority, transgression increases, but the righteous will look upon their downfall. And let me go ahead and give you the Peterson there, even though I'm jumping ahead a little bit. And this is why I noted it. Peterson uses the word degenerates. I can't remember if I've commented it here. Um, when I was working on The Heavenly Balm, one of Caspar Schwenkfeld's works, he also includes in the 1858 English translation by Anspach a piece that he entitled the Threefold Life of Man, something around that way. But Schwenkfeld uses the term regenerate for a person who has the Holy Spirit. And the opposite. We don't really have regenerate used as a common thing in our language, but its opposite, the degenerate, we absolutely have. So just a fun word. When degenerates take charge, crime runs wild, but the righteous will eventually observe their collapse. Our final verse, which gets a fair bit of commentary, and to the extent that I won't be sharing all of it with you, but for the Message, it reads, if people can't see what God is doing, they stumble all over themselves. But when they attend to what he reveals, they are most blessed. And you hear fairly clearly there that beatitude that's coming up in Proverbs. And here's verse 18 from the NRSV once again. Where there is no prophecy, the people cast off restraint, but happy are those who keep the law. The NIV translated as where there is no revelation. So we have revelation, prophecy. And what Van Leeuwen is going to spend some time on is the word vision, which I think is the most literal translation, but also important for us. This verse is the only place in Proverbs where prophetic vision, the word in Hebrew is hazon, is mentioned. Vision can refer to various types of prophetic revelation and usually occurs as a dream. A sage can claim such a revelatory vision. A vision can be written down. Thus, the term appears in the titles of prophetic books. There is diversity of opinion on 29:18. Many feel that its vocabulary should be understood in terms of typical wisdom concerns, so that vision and law refer to political guidance and wise instruction, respectively. Others note that vision appears here in parallel with Torah, which we have encountered before, defined as law and or instruction, a key word in this subsection of Proverbs. And that was part of his reference to 20 chapters 28 and 29, which is looking at the Torah as a part of its wisdom's teaching. Thus, taken together, these terms represent the law and prophets as twin written resources of guidance for the people of God. Side note on that particular note. So when we have Transfiguration Sunday, what we hear uplifted is Jesus in this interaction with Moses and Elijah, who are the symbols of the law and the prophets in this kind of combination of figures in history directing us to that point. Now, here is our full rendition, rather than just specific verses for Peterson's The Message. I'll pause after that first verse because you're going to hear some of that uncertainty and ambiguity. Murderers hate honest people. That one, just other than bloodthirsty, that one makes sense. And then here's the second note. Moral folks encourage them. And that gets ambiguous. It encourages them to kill them or hate them, or how does that work. Is it going to create more enmity? Yeah, probably. We'll continue. A fool lets it all hang out. A sage quietly mulls it over. When a leader listens to malicious gossip, all the workers get infected with evil. The poor and their abusers have at least something in common. They can both see their sight, God's gift. Leadership gains authority and respect when the voiceless poor are treated fairly. Wise discipline imparts wisdom. Spoiled adolescents embarrass their parents. When degenerates take charge, crime runs wild, but the righteous will eventually observe their collapse. Discipline your children. You'll be glad you did. They'll turn out delightful to live with. If people can't see what God is doing, they stumble all over themselves. But when they attend to what he reveals, they are most blessed. There was a line that I thought about looking up because I'm not sure if it was just a differing biblical translation of that line or a different verse altogether, but it's this: the people without a vision perish. I think it's a different verse, but very much connected to that Proverbs 29, verse 18. All right, we'll be back with you tomorrow as we step into our third and final section of Proverbs 29, and wish you well upon your journey. Have a great day.